are doing some work behind the scenes that you never see. You know, maybe it's a little bit like a car. The front end might be the steering wheel. That's what humans interact with. There's a whole bunch of technology there. The back end is the technology you don't see. Maybe it's like the engine. It's doing really important stuff, but when everything's working smoothly, you just interact with that steering wheel. Some people only specialize in writing programs for the front end. Some people only specialize in writing programs for the back end. Or you might hear this term full stack engineer, and those are programmers who can do both the front end and the back end, and that's a good thing to be. Next question from Begus Gaspar. What is the shortest piece of code that changed the world? That's a good question, and over a drink we could have a great conversation and debate this. I'm going to say backpropagation for artificial intelligence. Backpropagation is the few lines of code that tells an artificial intelligence algorithm, if I see data, how can I become smarter based off of that data? It's a very simple piece of code based off some cool calculus, and that's where most AI gets its intelligence from. Say your AI algorithm is trying to learn what a cat is, and it sees a picture of a cat. It can put it through its own little AI brain. Backpropagation will tell it how to change its AI brain so that it is better able to understand cats in the future. Pseudo Arba doesn't really have a question, but a cute little rhyme. How much could a C++ if a C++ could plus plus? C++ is one of the most popular programming languages. In fact, it's the one that I first learned on. That's how old I am in C++. It's what you want to use if you're writing a really intense program like a 3D computer game, or if you're writing the program to animate a Pixar movie. C++ is actually the descendant of another programming language called C. C is like the grandfather of all languages. The Latin equivalent of many different languages to explain. C++ is one of those, and you can see where it got that from C, and then plus is programming speed for one better. So it's like, not like C, but I'm a little bit better. And there's other descendants you might have heard of, like Java and Python. And the fact that all these three languages descend from C tells you how similar that they are to one another. Why is C or C++ so good for video game programming? Because it's so computationally intense. You have to render an entire 3D world with trees in the distance and things animating in the front, and that just asks so much of your computer. C and C++, they're like your bare bones programming languages. They're the most efficient, so they can run the fastest, and they can do the most computations per second. Python and Java, they're easier to read, so it's easier to write the program, but the computer can't run them as quickly. Los Merengues 14 asks, my computer science teacher asked, what is Python? And I replied, a very dangerous snake. And he beat me up. I feel like we have to have a different conversation about corporate punishment here. Did you know the name Python, the name for this programming language, actually comes from Monty Python's Flying Circus? The person who invented the programming language called Python was a big fan of the TV show, so gave it that name. It's a general purpose programming language, so you could write a Google Maps backend